Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe Essendon. This is the Sash. Definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I'm your host, Rob, here with you on Monday for the review show after whatever that was. And joining me in studio is James. Hello, mate.
Hey, Rob. Good to be here with you. Saturday wasn't so good, and just me here tonight. I believe Jesse was laid out some emergency meeting about a train and some funding that's been pulled.
Derailment.
So just me here tonight doing the hard yards after what was a pretty brutal game on Saturday night.
Yes, it was a very, very brutal game. And it's hard to know where to begin with something like this, because you can either just launch straight into a Facebook-like all caps rant calling for everyone's heads. You could try and take a bit more of a composed approach, or you can just go a bit murd. I don't know. I don't know what the people want. Maybe the people want a bit of fire and brimstone. Maybe they want a bit of level-headedness. It's hard to know, because I reckon if we surveyed the listeners of this show, I would say 9 out of 10 would have had the Doggies winning that game. Mm-hmm. If this game was a 40-point and under loss, I think we would just be talking about this like any other week. But it's the manner in which you lose which often defines the narrative. And this was as bad as losses come. Basically, harking back to the last time they did this to us, where, I guess we'll say a positive off the top. They didn't kick 21 in a row. So we're improving in that facet. But yeah, it was absolutely diabolical. They were fraught from the opening minutes of the game. The Doggies were clinical. We had no response. We had no answers. And our leaders didn't show up. Our inexperienced players struggled. And we couldn't fire a shot. And it took till mid to late through the second quarter before we finally kicked a goal. The game was well and truly done beyond that point. And yeah, this is pretty bad.
Yeah, I said it after the Adelaide game. Sometimes it's not if you lose, but how you lose. And it had that feeling about it from bang on the start. I think I looked up and it was 4 goals following that double goal to Vandermeer, and pretty stiff by Redmond to get pinged for that, but senior player, lack of discipline, cost us a couple of quick goals, and it was all over pretty quickly. You also touched on it there, lack of leadership from the senior players. That's what really stood out to me. I think we got a lot of supporters that say we need to play the kids and bring these young guys in, but I think we saw against a really classy, experienced football side, they're probably a step behind, which we expect. Yep. Happy to give them the experience, but what disappointed me is the lack of support by our senior players for them, and I'm sure we'll pick out a few this evening to discuss further. But that was probably the really disappointing part, and I think Nick Martin touched on it in the rooms afterwards, and probably brought himself into that group. But yeah, if we're going to have these young kids out there playing against these good sides, you want to be supported by your leadership group, and that wasn't the case.
Yeah, exactly. When things are going that much against you, you're not going to be turning to a first or second year player to right that. And, some of those guys had a crack, like Archie Roberts had a crack. He got a lot of the footy, had some pretty poor moments, and unfortunately was on the end of, the highlight moment of the game, sadly, which was Riley West taking him to the cleaners. And look, that might be one that's going to motivate him to get better in the future. But you can't be turning to those guys in these moments. You've got to be turning to your leaders. You've got to be turning to the leadership group. So whether that's your captain and your vice captain, whether that's Kyle Langford, whether that's Mason Redmond, and then even some of your more senior players as well around them, they're the guys you turn to in these moments, and they just didn't fire any shots whatsoever. I was really disappointed in Langford's game. I was really disappointed in Merritt's game. Which, you can excuse that. He can't be best on every single week, and he gets a lot of attention. Redmond, nothing. Nick Martin tried. You can see that. His running ability really stood out for me in that game, because there was little to no movement from a lot of players. Like I remarked to a mate of mine I was messaging during the game, I just said, it looks like some of these guys have got concrete boots on. Like there was just so much people just standing there going, oh wow, there's the Dogs players running past us again and again and again. And nothing was really changing. There was obviously discussions from, Brad post-game and some of the coaching group about how, we didn't, go into our shell and just go, all right, let's just try not to get smashed by too much. They kept trying to play their way, which, for what is a developing side who are trying to rebuild, that's, I guess, a good thing. But even still, like, there were some moves and ways we played it that were just so strange to me. Like, they brought it out on the commentary, like, we had a spare behind the ball, but it was going in there so quickly, it didn't matter. Like they weren't kicking long high balls up a square hoping for something. They were just threading passes to guys because there was no pressure higher up the ground. And I did wonder is maybe that was a move that they could have made going, all right, well, let's get rid of the spare and bring someone else up to the context to try and help this. But look, this was a game where our mids got annihilated. Our half forwards did little to nothing. And the back line was under siege. And, I saw a few, like Brad was like, oh, the backline stood up in the circumstances. And I saw a few comments of people being like, oh, how can you say that we lost by 9 points? But you can't blame some of those guys, particularly the key defenders. He was bad, but like it's not Jaden Laverty's fault we lost by 91 points, nor is it Ben Mackay or Zach Reid. Like the way that ball was going in there, Prime Silvani wouldn't have done anything about it. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, I think this game is a reminder for our midfield group in particular that this is a group that still has a long way to go. It needs more cattle. It needs better players. It needs more growth from players. And when a couple of them are down, when Caldwell and Durham have quieter nights, when Merritt has a quiet night, there isn't anyone there to sort of step up and do the job. And, there's obviously lots of discussion about players we might look at in the off-season, but, we have a lot of midfielders on our list, but I would suspect to say that, there's better players out there that we can replace them with. So, anyway, that's a very long rant, but, yeah, one of those nights that really shows, lift under the rug and be like, oh, still a lot of problems under here, which, some nice wins we've had kind of cover up in a way.
Yeah, and I know we got them last year, but there just seems to be this pattern against the Bulldogs, and I think a couple of the boys sent it in the group chat pretty early on. Why always the Dogs? Why is it always like this?
Yeah.
Getting beaten by what we know, which really frustrates me because we have a long time to prepare for these games, and it wasn't Waitman this time because he was out injured, but Riley West is the next small forward up, and he cashes in with 4 goals. You called English roaming around the ground, and I know poor Goldie's out on his feet, but could we have sent someone else to him and push up the ground and try and cover his influence a little bit? I don't know. I'm not a coach. They get paid to do that, but you see these things coming.
Well, there's an obvious one here though, and I guess we should probably talk about it. Is like, at what point do you say to someone, "Hey, why don't you stand in front of Bailey Dale and block his run and make it hard for him to get receive after receive?" Because we cycled through all our half forwards on him. Like there was some, I think it was a Hurdy show. Yesterday, they went through it, and there was a bit of Hobbs, there was a bit of Perkins, there was a bit of Martin, and like of the 3, Martin's probably the closest one to be able to run with him, I would say. But Martin doesn't play that role; he's not a defensive player. And I was sort of thinking about it a bit today. Like you think about our half forward group, our mid-sized forwards. Like, who's the dog in the group? Who's the one who's going to go? You know what? I'm not going to get lots of the footy. I might not even kick a goal. But my job is going to be to nullify opposition defenders who rebound. And honestly, without Gresham in this team, none of them bring any pressure whatsoever. And then you're looking at your key forwards and you're looking at Kako as your small, who, again, like if we're relying on a guy who's played, 7 or 8 games, is it now 9 games, it's not going to happen. So I think there is, yes, there is a personnel issue with that, but I think as well there's clearly got to be a coaching issue where it's just like, stop ball watching and let's actually try and take someone out of the game who is just destroying us at the moment. And let's try and change the game, make them go through someone else, and maybe then we can intercept and rebound and win the ball on a turnover instead of having their best user, clock up a kilometre of metres gained.
Yeah, I watched the Fremantle versus Giants game on the weekend, and Freo obviously played some really good footy, but one of the things I thought they did really well was nullify the orange tsunami and the run off half back, particularly from Whitfield. So Whitfield will get the ball, he often does the handball sort of 5-10 metres in front of him, and then left or right gets it back, and he's had time to kind of have a look up the field and make his decision, and when he has time he obviously uses the ball really well by foot. But the one thing Freo did really, really well in that game was as soon as he gave that handball, all the focus was on Whitfield. Yeah. Not running through him or anything along those lines, but just bodying him up and not ball watching or turning around trying to chase arse. And then I saw that footage of Bailey Dale, and the only way you have 49 possessions if you have 3 or 4 in a sequence, and he did that multiple times. But our players just watching the ball go over the head, and then no body on him, no want to get in his way, even an arm across. It was just turn and keep running, and he's obviously pretty pacey and obviously a good ball user as well, and he just had time and space to keep rolling, and he'd get it 3 or 4 times in a sequence. He had 25 at halftime. I remember messaging in saying he's on track for 50, and he nearly got there. So the fact that we went into the long break and seemingly didn't do anything about it, or at least anything that would work. So yeah, getting beaten by what we know, it was very predictable. Some of the players that stood out, and Libba had a shitload of it. No one seemed to kind of quell his influence at the coalface, which meant the likes of Richards, Kennedy was in and under. He had plenty of possessions. Bont didn't really take the game by the scruff of the neck, but did his part. So yeah, pretty predictable, and just allowing a team to play the way they want to, and they're a classy outfit with experienced players, and that was the result.
Yeah, I think they're a lot stronger than last year when we beat them. I mean, kind of obviously now, but the emergence of Ed Richards and then the inclusion of Matt Kennedy has meant that it's not just Libba and Bont or bust, because that was kind of how their midfield worked. Like obviously Treloar, but he's in and out a bit with injury. But last year when we played them, it was like, all right, Durham's going to go head-to-head with Bont, Caldwell's going to go to Libba, and they're both in good form and fit, and they won those battles. This time it's a bit different. Daz was okay. Caldwell's coming off an injury and didn't have much of an impact, but they didn't have to run that style because they've got so many more options to go to. And look at the guys we put through there, and they just didn't have much of an impact at all. Like Brad sort of said, we kind of won the result with Bont, and I was like, Did we?
It was a strange press conference that one from Brad. I thought.
I didn't think Will Setterfield was bad, but I didn't think he had a big impact on the game, at least in a positive sense. Just kind of felt that he was just there, and again, because he's a slow midfielder, the ball gets out, and he has no impact because he's a tight contested player.
Scott said in that press conference that if you said to me at the start of the game, if we can take Norton out of it and take Bontempelli out of it, that'll probably go a long way to us winning the game. Paraphrasing, but something along those lines. But I just think that's pretty naive comment to make when you look across the field for the Bulldogs, and they've got so many stars, and they're missing players too, which is pretty scary for the back end of the year if they can keep it going. But the other thing that jumped out to me as well when I was kind of having a look at the team and the stats, and you kind of touched on it with our lack of pressure half forwards, is the role players in our side versus theirs. So I kind of look at our side and I went, who's just a role player that gets their job done week in, week out? At the moment, Archie Roberts and Xavier Dersma. They're the two that I go, you know what your role is, you play it really well, kind of just put their magnet there and let them go. And then I had a look at the Bulldogs team of their role players, two-way runners, guys like DeRay, who you spoke about in the preview, McNeil, Bramble, Vandermeer played his role well, as much as he would have frustrated us. That means he played it well. James Harms, sacrificial role, came back from the wing to man up on our loose man back, which meant Sardell Hawley was kind of lost. very sacrificial role. He's not going to get a lot of the ball doing that, although I think he did have high 20s by the end of the game. And Kennedy as well, who's starting to kind of get some plaudits, but has always sort of been kind of that defensive mid to allow the likes of Bont and Libba to do their work. So nothing fancy or special about those guys, but they work bloody hard. They're coached well. They know what their role is. And for us, you know, Roberts and Dersma, maybe Setterfield. Outside of that, I really kind of struggled. The one guy that probably fits that bill and a pressure half forward is Guelphy. Not sure how far away he is, but I think him and Gresh were sorely missed, and the sooner we get them back, the better.
Yeah, because obviously we love, this is the whole thing, we love seeing the kids play and we want to see kids play, but again, Archer Day Wicks isn't going to turn a game like this. You're just not going to get that from a player who's had so little experience in a game. We're obviously happy to see him out there and he's doing well. Same with Kako. We want to blood these guys because we want to be looking towards the future, but this is the trade-off, everyone. There was a hot take someone sent in last year, and I saw them commented on Facebook. That's why it reminded me. And he said that, this is what a rebuild looks like, guys. These games are going to happen when you have young kids playing, and then you also have, let's be frank, a group of senior players who probably most of them won't be there when we're tilting for a premiership. Let's be honest with ourselves. These games are going to happen. That's just the reality of the rebuild. But I guess we sort of sit here and go, okay, how can we not, how can you lose a game but be okay with it, I guess, is kind of where I'm going. I'll ask you a question. Do you think our lack of role players is down to system, or is it down to the cattle we have?
Probably a little bit of both. I think selection can be thrown into that as well. I spoke a few weeks ago about Harry Jones kind of just feel like he was being picked and then trying to be forced into a position, and that was on the wing for a while, and that was frustrating a lot of people. So I do feel like it's a mixture of both and selection. I feel like the way teams are picked now, and it also comes into recruitment, is they have to fit the bill. Yeah. What is the role that we need? And I think we've maybe started to try and do that a little bit, but we've obviously got a long way to go. Rose has been in the job for not very long. Yeah. He's going to try and build that list out the right way. Whereas I think, we've seen in the past, Dodoro like to pick the best available. Well, is that what we need? And no. You spoke about the surplus of mids we have at the moment. There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, a mixture of a lot of factors. But, I think that's the way that we need to go moving forward, because it's the way that the good teams are playing footy at the moment. They've got their stars and they've got their premium players, but it's these role players, sacrificial players, two-way runners that allow it. You saw Richmond, their dynasty was based off of these Castagnas and Butlers and Riolis, these guys that just sacrificed their game. Yes, they had their dusties and whatnot, but they won a premiership based off of that. That's the way footy's gone now.
Yeah, they had Kane Lambert, who lives in my area. I see him around all the time, and I'm like, oh, Kane Lambert, good player.
Players like that.
But look at Carlton right now. If you went and did every team's top best six players, Carlton's are as good as anyone. They've got one of the best fullbacks in the comp, two of the best forwards in the comp. I think probably the best inside mid in the comp in Cripps when he's up and about. The best young ruckman in the comp, and then Walsh, if he gets his body rise, one of the best mids in the comp. And then it just plummets away. That's the reason that Carlton aren't sitting top four reliably is because you need these role players coming into the game. And this was just an example of that, where it just felt like every single line of the field, every 50-50, the Dogs are winning because they just had better, stronger, and in most cases more experienced guys who know what they're doing, who know their role, who know their system. And unfortunately, we are young, we are slow, we are confused, we have all these issues, which are the teething problems come with trying to grow. It's just very hard. They still had plenty of young guys out there, don't get me wrong. But, I think we just had a couple of guys who just seemed a bit off the pace. It'll be interesting to see how selection rolls this week, knowing that we've had absolute pumping. And let's be honest, looking at the fixture ahead, this is the most winnable game we've got for the next month up against Richmond. So, yeah, it's a tough one. How do you feel about the coaching? Because, David King was going on yesterday, about saying how, the way that we try to play isn't stacking up. But, it's obviously the thing as well of going, well, look, no one expects us to play finals. We know that. Is this just us developing, or is there genuinely a problem with the way we're trying to play? Because don't get me wrong, there was a lot of side-to-side crab ball going on, but is side-to-side crab ball just the fact that you have no faith in your players up the ground because they're getting smashed?
Yeah, and I think not being able to win it at the contest as well really hurts us the way the game's played now. If you can get the quick break a line, defence can't be set up, but we got absolutely annihilated around the contest. So the ball movement that we were trying to generate was already very stagnant. It was from set pieces, kick-ins, those sorts of things. So there was no opportunity to kind of move the ball quickly and get out the back. And then I think, just a really well drilled side in the Bulldogs. They take away Plan A, which is obviously trying to move it through the corridor quickly, clog that up, and then it's Plan B. And do we really have a Plan B at the moment? I'm not sure. The old kick down the line doesn't cut it anymore, and it hasn't for a while. So,
no.
Yeah, I think but then also I think that there was a lack of effort there.
There was.
We won the tackle count by 2, which was really hard to fathom when we were chasing us all night. Yeah, we didn't have the ball.
But like I said, it genuinely looked to me like guys had done the biggest leg weight session of their lives the day before a match and they'd rolled in, because they were just moving it so quickly, and it just always seemed like we were just a step off the pace, and then a split second later that step became 5-10 metres. Like, so many of our players who I would generally consider to be, I wouldn't not fast AFL players, but they weren't slow AFL players, just looked so far off the pace. And it started with our half forwards. That was where it was most obvious with Bailey Dale, and then you could see it through the midfield, just how easy the ball was moving. And I do wonder, is this just is this ball watching? Is this people being confused? Is this just 15 minutes of bad footy, everyone going, oh, well, it's one of those nights, fuck it. I'll conserve myself for next week.
Well, yeah, you would hope not. I said it before. It was a very strange press conference from Brad Scott. He kind of came into it with some positives, and he touched on.
He seemed a bit rattled.
It was a little bit rattled. It was very strange. I know, I probably I enjoy listening to them a lot more than others do. Some people feel like he rolls out the same kind of cliches every week, which I understand.
You're a body language expert, though. What was the body language? Tell me about the body language.
Rattled is probably not far off. And I think he tried to come into it with a positive attitude and, young side against a very good side. But it sounded strange. And if you haven't watched it, go back and have a look. Because, I just found it, maybe he just delivered it incorrectly and, perceived it wrong. But, a real weird one, I thought. Sort of wanted answers as to why that result happened. And there wasn't really anything around accountability or... might have come in sore like he suggested. It was all, well, we did this and we did this. So, oh, well.
Early on, I really liked what felt like honesty from Brad, but that was a very politician's, that was a lot like that guy on the ABC when the Libs lost the election. He was like, oh, let's wait till the end of the count. It's like, guys, you fucking lost. Just admit it. That's kind of the vibe. It was like, just get out there and go, hey, look, we were bad. We had a really bad day. We did we did all these things wrong. But this, I think that's kind of what you want as fans, is you want the admitting, going, hey, what we didn't work tonight. These are things we could have done better. What other questions have you got? Obviously the journalists are going to try and lead questions to try and get a bit of a headline out of it. But yeah, I don't know. It just didn't seem like what I'm used to hearing from him. I don't know.
And we never we don't know what's happening behind closed doors. He might have he might have given him a spray once he
Oh,
once he was in the room. Like it could be completely different. You know, Brad's very experienced.
Who would want to
Both
get
Scott brothers. You know, I think they play with the media a little bit and take the piss, to be frank. But yeah, just didn't seem like any accountability or put our hand up as coaches and say we got this wrong. Like, yeah, very strange.
Have you seen tonight in the lead up to this game? We're obviously just looking at it before, but Caro's gone with it. Paul Little wants to put his hat back in the ring, get on the board. With that, James Hurd's going to coach again, apparently. I'll tell you what. I reckon we're 100-point loss away from the ghost of Dick Reynolds coming back. That's the way that the media goes. It's like, Essendon's lost by a lot. James Hurd, press the James Hurd button. So yeah.
And he's on.
I think he's already
what is it?
denied it. So
what's that? What's the show? There's that many I can't keep up now. The one with Tom Morris and Hurdy and. It's the Sunday night one.
The incinerator.
Yeah, it's something like
the
that.
Furnace.
The there
footy
it is.
Furnace.
Footy furnace. I'm sure.
Put me in a furnace, please.
I'm sure Tom Morris is shaking at the thought of being able to ask Hurdy whether he'd consider coaching. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, he'll always have his fans, Sheedy and the like. But no, I think we stick fat. This is what a rebuild is. It can be tough sometimes. We saw it against Adelaide. We've seen it against the Bulldogs. I'm looking forward to the response on Friday.
And Faithful, guess what? We're going to see it again this year. Maybe a couple more times. So
maybe in 2 weeks' time.
Brisbane
are pissed.
Brisbane are not happy. They are ready for an easy kill, and we'll give it to them. I forgot my point. I had something else I was going to say. That was it. Like, I'm still of the very firm belief that the approach that the club is taking of turning over the list and going to the draft and bringing in some new people and starting a new era is the right approach. Do I think that Brad is the tactician who's going to take us to a premiership? Unconvinced. But I think everything they're doing now to set that up is the right thing. This could mean that in 3 or 4 years' time, when we're, good enough that maybe we're playing finals but we can't go that next level, that we turn over to someone else who can be that tactician to come in and maybe take us that step further. Maybe he is. I don't know. But, again, jury's out for me. But I wholeheartedly agree with the way that they're trying to turn over the list and rebuild, because it is the right thing to do. So that's my point.
Yeah, but I'm also of the opinion that the head coach doesn't necessarily have to be the tactician. I think you look at multiple coaches that have had success across the competition, and they're more, I think, relationship builders and people motivators, and they have people behind the scenes in the assistant ranks. Like Rath, for example, came across with pretty big raps on him from a tactical point of view. There's another guy that's name escapes me at the moment.
Don't
that
ask
came
some
across
Kilda
as
fans
well.
about that. I mean, we just had a couple sitting in this studio, which thank you St Kilda for just taking the burden off us yesterday. But yeah, I got a good Saints mate who's very, very, very smart footy man, knows his stuff, and he said to me, he's just like, Saints people just don't rate David Rath. They think he's a bit of a charlatan, and Ross came in, was just like, don't believe what he's saying. Obviously, he has the history of the success that he had with Hawthorn, so don't know. It's too early to say whether this is actually real or not, but I do agree with what they're doing as a collective. The approach is correct. Is this game plan, which I guess is Rath's game plan? I don't know. It says in his bio that part of his thing is he does game day strategy. I don't know. Was he the one who put Jake Kelly on a wing? That's what we need to find out, everyone. Who should I blame? That's what I need to know. But yeah, look, anyway, time will tell. We're not sacking everyone just yet. James, I know it's much anticipated after a 91-point loss, but do you want to do the votes?
Sure, and I understand they were pretty hotly contested.
They were. Sash Fan Player of the Year Award brought to you by Waxit Car Care. You can find the best car care products at waxit.com.au. Use the link in the episode description and you get 10% off, which is a pretty good deal. Okay, Sash Fan Player of the Year Award. Now, we'll start with one. With one vote, Will Setterfield got a vote. 2 votes, Sam Durham. 3 votes, Archie Roberts. And now here's where it gets interesting. Now, the gentlemen who were on 4 and 5 were tied this afternoon. Now, I'll be honest and say we didn't have as many people regularly vote as we have. From the several hundred who would vote,
shocked.
it was considerably less. So I think we understand why. But I texted 3 people. And I just gave them the 5 names in random order. I said, give me a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The first 2 came back. They both had these guys interchanged. I'm like, well, that hasn't fixed my
Split
dilemma.
you down the
It's
middle.
still the same. Joel came in with the deciding vote, and his final vote has tipped this over. So with 4 votes, Nick Martin, and 5 votes, Xavier Dersma. So there you go. This is also the first round after 9 rounds of footy, or is it 10 rounds of footy?
We've had 10, I think.
10 rounds, 9 games. We didn't have one?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, this would be the first time Zach Merritt hasn't polled a vote this season. So they're slowly catching up. Sam Durham is very slowly bridging the gap with that 2 points. Do you have anything else you want to speak about before we get into some hot takes and hear people scream into their phones?
A question for you, I suppose.
Yep.
And the man's just behind you there on the wonderful old gold. It's not his fault. He's trying hard.
No.
What are we going to do with Goldie from here on?
I think we are going to play him until we get to the mid-season draft and we bring in some reinforcement, because Vigo Vicentini does some all right stuff in the VFL, but I know that there are certain, sometimes one of the reasons that a player doesn't get a crack in the AFL is because their GPS numbers are not good enough. The AFL literally sit there and go, a player in this role needs to be hitting this amount of running throughout a game to actually be able to continue to contest. And I would assume, I don't know, this is my assumption, that someone of his, inexperience might not be at that level. Could be totally wrong, but that's my read on it. So is there a, VFL stand for waffle player who is a bit more fit and can actually do it? Now, does that mean that they run a tandem? Does that mean that Goldie gets a break? Because he's going to need a rest soon. So it's not his fault.
No, it's not.
It's not his fault.
I'm not knocking him
we can't knock him.
whatsoever.
He's all
But
we've
it's
got.
just, when is the mid-season draft? Do you know what round that would be?
It's pretty close. It might be next week.
Oh, really? I thought it was still a few weeks away. So
it is Wednesday, the 28th of May. So it is Wednesday next week. So we have one more game, and then we can bring someone in. But then I assume there'd probably be a couple of weeks of just, game plan, betting them in. It'd be pretty unbelievable if we brought a guy in on a Wednesday and he's playing on a fucking Saturday.
I mean, I honestly
It's
don't think
Essendon.
it's that far off.
It's very Kevin Sheedy-like to do something like that.
It is very Kevin Sheedy. I don't know if we're that far off. I think that Goldie will play this week because it's an Ankervis.
Yep.
And then I would not be surprised if they don't send him up to Brisbane. Oscar McInerney, good ruckman, but not the same build as a Nankervis. I don't think he's going to belt the shit out of a younger ruckman like Vicentini. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they gave him a go. And he probably hasn't earned an AFL debut in the sense of GPS numbers and form, but I think that's out the window now. I think old Gold needs a week off after the game against Richmond.
Can Nick Cox ruck for 4 quarters?
We'll try it.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Yep. Before we go to a break, I just want to shout out Tom, who sent us in this Dustin Fletcher cap, which is from his 350th game. Obviously, he got to 400, but signed by the great man. So Tom sent that in. So big shout out to Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
That's some pretty cool merch. I decided today, while we're talking merch, I'm going to put together a bit of a collage. So I'm going to get a scarf. I want to collect some badges of what I deem to be like Sash favourites. Essendon meme players, essentially. So if anyone has a Courtney Johns, a Jason Laycock, a
Kepler Bradley.
Kepler Bradley. If you've got a badge of someone from back this era, I will buy it off you. I literally bought a Damien Cupido off eBay, and you and I were just looking before. I'm going to get a Ryan Crowley in, which is going to be great. I can't find the Zach Clark one. If someone has a Zach Clark, I'll give you $20 for that.
I don't know if they made one.
They did. He played a season as if he didn't. As if he didn't after that one game where he just destroyed Goldstein. As if he didn't get a badge. So anyway, I want to put that together for the sec. I reckon that'll be iconic. So if anyone's got any really rogue badges of memey players, I want to hear about it. I'm thinking we'll have on one side of the room, we'll have all the greats on one side, and the other side we'll have all the meme players. We'll have our Essendon and Essington side. Who are the other ones I bought? Oh yeah, I bought a Jake Kelly and a James Stewart, so they're going to go in.
The TBC.
The TBC King, forever on the injury list. He's going to be up there, the Hall of Fame.
Very good.
Very good.
Hopefully we don't lose him.
No, hopefully we don't lose him. That might be the gag. We'll just say that we've got him.
Where's he gone?
He's like, where is he? I don't know.
Into the abyss.
He's around somewhere. All right, let's take a break. We'll be back with some hot takes and some more fun after this. This halftime break is brought to you by the Ticket Merchant for the 2025 AFL season. Whether you're looking for tickets to Essendon matches or you want to catch a concert, comedy show, maybe you want to take mum somewhere, the Ticket Merchant has you covered. Head to theticketmerchant.com.au to explore their massive range of tickets. We'll be back after this.
Thanks, Rob. It's that time of the week where we get some totally rational and well-adjusted opinions onto the pod. On the Sash, it's Hot Takes.
Hot Takes.
As the bombers fly up. Thank you, everyone who sent them through this week. Bit of a common theme, as you can imagine. Yeah, obviously can't play them all. Some just because we have too many similar. Some because they were just a little bit too upset and a bit too abusive, which, I feel you. I feel the pain. But we probably don't need to broadcast some of those thoughts. All right. I just lost my page, so let's just pad for a minute. Do you just open 1,000 tabs on your Google?
Yeah.
Mate, I open up so many. And I'll look at some, I'm like, I watched half that YouTube video. Maybe I'll come back to that. I won't close it.
Never to be watched again.
I never go back. I never finish it. All right. This is Hey Siri, Play Hurt by Johnny Cash.
Fucking awesome game tonight, lads. Really fun, thrilling from the first bounce, really. But what have we got for the rest of the night?
We've got gin, whiskey, tequila, cup of tea if you want it.
Yeah. I reckon that sounds fucking good, eh?
Sounds pretty good to me. I reckon they weren't alone in hitting the top shelf on the weekend. I was certainly there. This one's from Jared. Thank you, Jared.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to commemorate the death of Essendon's season once again to the fucking Western Bulldogs. Fuck me dead.
Yeah. Real funeral vibes. Had a lot of funeral requests this week.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Shit.
I mean, people, we usually the first loss of the season, people are like, funeral, do the funeral. It's like,
I did see a few after the Adelaide game.
We're not ready. I mean, it's kind of how it goes is I kind of have to wait till we're mathematically out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I look like a dickhead if we somehow turn it around. So, and have some faith. We got to believe, don't we? We got to try and believe. This one's from Liam. Thank you, Liam.
Mate, Bailey Dale actually got more disposals than we got score.
Straight to the point. Straight to the point.
It was at the ground too, I think.
Yeah.
That's great.
This next one's pretty funny. Jackson Pryor, #1 fan.
Oh, jeez.
Fuck! Fuck, we're shit! Fuck!
Dan jumped when that came on. Dan jumped. That was.
Do you have to do the warning if there's any kids in the car?
People probably know by now. I mean, I feel like anyone who listens to this show with kids, the kids probably heard them doing that during the game. Daddy, why are you yelling? Daddy. All right, let's go from that to a bit more It's a bit more level-headed. This is Corey Davis. Thank you, Corey.
This is Corey from Melbourne. Watching the game on car, it was probably the ugliest game I think we've had to watch. Probably worse than the Adelaide loss, to be honest with you. We just broke down across every line. Give Bulldogs credit. They were unreal from the time the first siren went to the final siren sounded. If I could take any positives out of the game, Archie Roberts, I thought, had a really good game, 29 touches, had a lot of it. Ben Mackay, in some stages, had some key intercept marks. Yes, he did have a few mares, but so did everybody in and out of the game. Kyle Langford, I know you've had an injury, like an interrupted year, but I feel like you've got to do a lot better than what you're showing. Also comes down to delivery. We didn't have enough of it, but I think he's got to contribute a lot more than what he is at the moment. You are the second key forward. Yes, Peter Wright, probably in the same boat. He only kicked one, I think. And I just think we've just got to be better across every line, come in with the right attitude and mindset to, against good sides, try and stand up. Even if we don't get the win, just put a bit more effort in because, it was an ugly, ugly game to watch. But on to next week. Hopefully the boys can show something better. Unsure on who we have, but hopefully play with the right attitude, play our style of footy, and anything is possible. Go Plains.
Nice and measured, that one.
Far too measured for hot takes, but yeah, agree wholeheartedly. Effort doesn't take any skill whatsoever, and that had to be questioned. So, expecting a response Friday night.
Yep. This is Tesalenko. There's a bit of that. That's actually what my kid sounds like when he's trying to sleep. He's going,
Bit of lurk.
Yeah. Maybe my son is Lurker. Doesn't know how to speak properly, but he's actually Lurker. All right. This is El Porco. Thank you, El Porco.
There's no more bin anymore, boys. Fucking someone keeps emptying the bin and putting it on the field. Fuck it. It's time to dig holes. 6 foot deep. Brad Scott, hole. Ben Mackay, hole. Jaden Laverty, hole. Actually, anyone who's played more than 3 years, I can throw them all in the hole. The plane has crashed. No more funeral. That's it. Straight in the fucking hole.
Get in the hole. Yeah, the bin is now long gone. It's a hole. It's a pit. Pit of despair. We are in the pit of despair. All right. Should we come back to a more measured one from that?
Go on.
Braden from Seymour. Thank you, Braden.
Look, I think we can all agree that that wasn't great, right? In fact, it was downright just shit, rough to watch. And I'd see people on Facebook and shit, and they're like, oh, this player's fucking useless, this cunt's useless, we've got to drop this prick. We're going to drop the whole team if we base it on this performance. So I think we just need to relax a bit. It wasn't good, but we just had an off night. We had a really, really off night. Bulldogs had a really, really good night, and it just was unfortunate that it happened that way. You know? I firmly believe that there were positives in that game. I don't know what they were, but I'm sure there was some. And I genuinely think that next week we're going to come out firing and we're going to absolutely fuck Richmond.
Yeah.
So, fuck. She'll be right, I'm sure.
She'll be right.
Go Plains and stuff.
Is that Tyson Heppel? I don't know. Could be. Lydia the Brave. People just screaming into their phones.
Therapy, mate. That's what we're here for.
This is therapy. Yeah, invoice in the mail, everyone. This one is I'm never going to be happy.
I'm a 17-year-old in high school. And with the way this club's going, I think I might have a wife and kids before we win a final. And that is me being genuine. Last week, I could see the direction we were heading. This week, it just feels like we're back to square one. That loss felt like it set us back 3 years. Don't lose the Tigers, please.
Is that son of Lurker, maybe? Yeah, gee, tough time to be a 17-year-old Essendon fan. This is Red and Blacked Out.
We ran on the field with hope in our eyes, but fumbled the footy and swallowed our pride. The Dogs ran riot, we watched like a dream, a nightmare in red and black, a barely there team. No tackle stuck, no hanger shown, like cones in drills, we stood alone. Goals, not ours, just wistful air, a crowd full of sighs and vacant stares. Oh, Essendon, fucking dear, what was the plan? Was effort optional? Was that a sham? But still I stand, a fan through pain. But Lord help me, not again.
That was good. That was really good.
Bit of lurk in that as well. I like it.
He's rubbing off on everyone. This is the Archie Perker. Very good. This is Jesse's train derailed.
This is a special news bulletin. Word has come across that the train has crashed. It's Jesse's train is off the rails. Yeah, what can we say about that, boys? It was pretty disappointing. Fuck me. Hopefully we bounce back next week at Dreamtime. It doesn't turn into a nightmare. Love you, boys. Peace.
There we go. Oh, God. There's some really weird ones coming up, but this is funny.
It's like the name.
Oh, okay. This is Lurker's Hostage.
I am Lurker's hostage. It's day 726. He tortures me with the sounds of Damien Cupido's left boot and a Treebeard torpedo. I don't have long left. The VFL is in its last quarter. He'll be back soon. This is my message to you. Dons destroyed, disgraced. Langford love, low. Mids and forwards, 2-1 paced. Dons have a very long way to go.
God, that is so strange. That was great.
That's all time.
That was great. This one's a bit similar to another one, but it was very good, so I'm going to play it. This is Derailment.
Ladies and gentlemen, all passengers travelling on the Jesse train to Premiership Station, please be advised the train has derailed at Marble Stadium. I repeat, the train has derailed at Marble Stadium. Please see your nearest information booth for further information about how to proceed. We apologise for any further inconvenience. Fuck Riley West! Thank you.
The production.
The production's really good tonight. Really good. All right. Yeah, Dan's lost it. Dan's absolutely lost it. All right, two to go. We'll go a measured one, and then we'll end on a song. So this will be fun. This is Dave Wright.
Hello, boys. Dave here from Melbourne. Here's a hot take for you. In 2016, in what was probably the lowest point for this club, I went to quite a few games just out of support of the boys and the club that I love. And whilst we were resoundingly defeated in most of those games, we were never beaten and we gave effort, and that team would run rings around this team. We were flogged last night, and the worst thing was the distinct lack of effort, the distinct any plan B, the distinct just not going hard. It's appalling. It was abysmal. I have never, ever been to a game of football where I was just felt so embarrassed, and it was the whole crowd. It was ambivalence at its finest. I was disgusted, and yet I wasn't surprised. What's gonna turn up this week against the Tigers, lads? I'd really like to know if you think it's worth me going to Dreamtime with my 10-year-old daughter on a Friday night. Let me know your thoughts. Go Plains.
I retract my comment of measured, but still a good take. It's interesting. All right, I'm going to give you a couple of names in a head-to-head, and you're going to tell me who's better. All right, you ready?
Shit.
Okay. This is unprompted. James and I haven't practiced this. James is not ready for these questions.
Because we practice all the other stuff.
Yeah, everything else is practiced. No, okay. All right, head-to-head, who are you taking? James Gwilt or James Laverde? Laverde. Okay. Okay. Mark Bagley or... Was he playing as a backman or a forward in 2016? I can't remember. Mason Redman.
Didn't mind baggers, but Redman.
Sean McKernan or Todd Goldstein?
Goldie.
Ben Howlett or Ben Hobbs?
Howlett.
Yeah, good call. Craig Bird or Will Setterfield?
I want a badge of Craig Bird on that wall.
Yeah, let's get a birdie.
Setters.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Who else is on that list? I mean, they don't play a similar position. Adam Cooney or Jackson Pryor?
Cooney. Brownlow medalist.
You want a Brownlow medal? All right, I'll do one more. It's funny that this website, Draft Guru, grades them from A down. So I went straight to the bottom and I'm looking at who are the ones down the bottom. Matt D or Ben Mackay?
Mackay.
Okay, there we go. You hesitated for a minute there.
Sad to remember who Matt D was.
Yeah, Matt D was.
Came across from Richmond.
He
tried hard.
He'll be up on the wall. All right, let's wrap it up. We've got a bit of a song. This is Depressed Quinn. Thank you. Quinn?
I wanna be the premiers so fucking bad. Our fans might not be so mad. I wanna see a finals win on my TV. The feeling would be like doing ketamine. But every time I use my eyes, Fryer makes me wish I was blind. Our kicking's a bloody crime. Oh God, that's it. Scott's having a fit. We're so fucking shit. Nah, look, that's probably what we all expected. Yeah. Just, I think maybe for next year we should look at making Patrick Dangerfield an offer to come on as a player coach. Even if it's like 1.5 mil for 2 years. We got the salary cap space and we could really use someone to come in from a club that's been at the top for a while and just make sure our standards are up to date and coach our young mids and forwards. Thanks, lads. Go Dons. Sorry for the drive-by prior.
At least he apologised. Paddy Dangerfield, player coach?
I can't see it happening. I don't mind the idea of someone like that coming in.
I think he's got a cushy media role lined up, to be fair.
I don't think he'll be venturing to Tullamarine from Moggs Creek.
Yeah, there's a blazer with Channel 7 on it just waiting for him to slip into, I think. So, yeah, would be nice. But yes, like you said, Moggs Creek to the hangar is a fair old drive.
Tempting.
Fair old driver on the ring road. So, yeah, good one. Thank you everyone for sending him through. No lurker tonight. Hope the great man's well. But we've obviously had plenty of lurker impersonations.
Inspired a few.
A lot of lurker impersonations this week.
Well, lurker was out because the hostage got his go. So.
Lurker's hostage was something else. That was some rare stuff. But thank you, everyone, for submitting. We appreciate your support, as always, here on the show. The hot takes, what makes Mondays sometimes worth rocking up for. Just when
Absolutely.
we've been punted by 91 points, it's nice to come in and know that I'm going to be cheered up by the end of the show. So I hope everyone else is feeling a bit better about it all. If you want to listen to Thursday's show, our preview show, you can sign up to become a premium member for $5 a month, $42 the whole year. You get an extra show every week, you get an ad-free experience, and you can join the Discord, which is always a bit of a laugh, particularly when we get flogged. So, yeah, appreciate everyone who's already on there, but if you want to support us, it's great. Still got some beanies left, $20 each if you want to get on those before we bring out some new stuff. There'll probably be an opposition preview this week. I just realised I haven't organised one. It's Monday night, so I might have to get on that and the game on Friday. James, final thoughts?
Yep, disappointing, but I'll judge this loss off the performance that we put in Friday night. Opportunities there to respond, very winnable game. But Tigers, they can get their tail up. Watch them against North on the weekend. They'll pencil this one in. Big game. They'll enjoy the opportunity. So we need to rock up with the right mindset. But I'll judge this loss based off of how we performed Friday.
Well said. Well said. Thank you everyone for joining us. Appreciate your support as always. Look after yourselves. Have a great week. Go Dons.